Welcome to our executive interview series at the 2025 Zero Trust Summit presented by CyberScoop. I'm Wyatt Cash, and we're here with Adam Clater, Chief Architect for Civilian Agencies at Red Hat. Adam, thanks so much for joining us.
Always a pleasure, Wyatt.
Let me start by asking from your perspective, what do you see as the biggest operational challenges that most government agencies are still facing in establishing a zero trust environment?
Yeah, I think, if you look over the documentation from CISA, they're pretty clear that zero trust is very much a journey. And like any journey, it all begins with the first step, right? That first single step to go forward. And so I think for many agencies, just the wide breadth of what zero trust really means within their organization and what it's going to take to implement it. Now, obviously at Red Hat, we've got a perspective that a lot of that begins with the end user, understanding access control, who your end user is, and then building out automation from that point so you can enable your zero trust strategy as you move forward. But I really think it's one of scope, and not so much scope creep. It's just the vast scope of everything that zero trust is. So from an operational perspective, I would say get started, get moving, get an understanding of who your users are, get that PIV to host authentication implemented, and then start moving forward from there.
And then, do you believe that federal agencies' senior executives really have a full understanding of the resources required to achieve zero trust objectives, particularly with, all the logging that has to be done, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. And that's not to speak ill of any executive within the federal service. It's simply the vastness, once again, of the zero trust problem that makes it incredibly difficult. And I think that in many cases, we don't yet know what we don't know. And so, as you think about an executive, whether it be the CIO, CFO, or even the administrator of an organization, walking through this process of zero trust, I think there are going to be a lot of unknowns as we move through that process. And so certainly understanding those as we reach them, understanding how these things interoperate with one another, because no portion of zero trust really exists in a silo. And so no, I would say no, unfortunately, but I think that's simply the nature of the journey that we find ourselves on with zero trust, and in a landscape that's continually changing, because the zero trust strategy that made sense last year may not necessarily make sense with the changes that we're making from a technology perspective as we move into next year. And so that zero trust journey is not only one in that's very long, but it's one where unfortunately the goalposts may be moving out as we even begin to take those first steps.
It's definitely a fluid situation for sure. Well, Adam Clater, thank you for taking a few minutes to share your perspectives with us here at the CyberScoop's 2025 Zero Trust Summit.
Absolutely. Thanks as always, Jai.